We've made quite a bit of progress in the crypto space since our last update, but the question now is this the real thing or is it just a head fake? Is this a bull trap and are we going to turn back around? Stay tuned to find out. This is Bitcoin, which we're going to be focusing mainly on along with Ethereum. I'm going to touch on other cryptos as well later in the video, but you've had almost nothing but green for a couple of weeks, it seems like. Bitcoin is hovering around 47K. We actually broke 48,000 a few hours ago, and this looks like some kind of a consolidation, sideways consolidation, and the picture is much the same from Ethereum, and we've come a long way. You have this peach box here. This was my original third wave target, which, well, I'm going to call this the third wave, and you're presumably in a fifth wave of maybe a larger third wave. Point being that we've come a long way since the more recent bottom of around $2,300 and quite a ways from our 2160 bottom we hit back in February, or was it January? Other cryptos had a lower low in February, but not Ethereum and Bitcoin, and things are looking pretty good so far. Is this the real thing? Well, I'll tell you this, we're not out of the woods just yet. When we look at the structure of this, you could argue that there's actually an A, B, and a C, and we're not quite out of the range of this being a potential C wave. When I build out our fib extension tool based on this, what we're seeing here, so bring it down to here, the 1.0 extension would put us at about 3430, so we broke that, but you'll often see ABCs that go like this. You have an A, B, and the C wave will hit exactly to the 1.6 extension before we collapse. However, we have a lot of reasons to believe that that's not the case. Technically, you're not going to be out of the woods until you break the 1.61 extension, which would be about at 4126. The same story stands in Bitcoin. Bitcoin actually looks arguably even more impressive. We broke well past the 1.0 extension and we're consolidating. So in Bitcoin, we need to go a good bit higher. We've got to break through at least probably 55,000 before we can put that potential more or less behind us. But good developments. Other cryptos have even better looks to them when we take a closer look. I'm actually going to let's look at Bitcoin Cash real quick. Explosive rally. I'm not going to spend too much time here because I'll have updates coming out pretty soon on some of these, but clearly we have 3 up and we're presumably already in our 5th wave blow off. Ethereum Classic has probably been the most impressive since our lows several weeks ago, a month or so ago, in that well, we've more than doubled our price value since our January low. Like Bitcoin and Ethereum, we didn't have that second lower low, and we're just taking off. This also looks like some kind of consolidation, possibly an ascending triangle, something like that. And here we've already broken past the 1.764 target, so this is extending very impressively. Very clear sign. Looks very unlikely that it's an ABC correction up. Litecoin, pretty solid here. There's a few other cryptos that have had incredibly impressive rallies that have more or less put the concern of a lower low not completely behind us, but more behind us than it would have been about a week or 2 ago. Here's Dash. It's my favorite one to track the sentiment of altcoins, and we did have a lower low here at the end of February, and well, all systems go so far. So before I go too far down the rabbit hole with the altcoins, let's look at the bigger picture here. This is Bitcoin once again, and when we look at this thing, I want to point out that we have absolutely broken through the top of our would-be triangle, and the same applies in Ethereum. We've broken well past that, so this triangle potential is basically dead. I'm actually going to take it off of here. Definitely killed that triangle. That's a good thing. And as a matter of fact, you could even argue that the ABC up is pretty close to being dead as well, so I'm going to get rid of that. It doesn't mean, again, that we're out of the woods. This was potentially a descending triangle with a spike down lower. We don't have that. We've broken through the top. So it doesn't mean that this can't be an ABC up, but when you look at this picture, we have our 1, 2, 3. If this is a 4th wave, it's extended quite a ways. Again, nothing unusual for an ending diagonal kind of situation. You would have a very sharp 4th wave bounce, and it could stretch for a while. But one could argue that this was the 4th wave bounce here, and we had a truncated 5th to finish off our pullback. I cannot seem to click this thing right. So that possibly is a truncated finishing to our downside. So that would be the official bottom, not this, even though obviously physically price-wise that's lower. That is Bitcoin, and in Ethereum, we have basically the same kind of situation. We've come up so far, and it's gone so far that it's very unlikely for this to be a 4th wave bounce. Now here's a more potential bearish perspective that this is actually a 2nd wave bounce. So this whole thing could be a 1st wave down, and we may be in a 2nd wave consolidation before the real crash comes. So this is a very low possibility, but a setup is a setup. It's there. I would put it at no more than 10% likelihood, just based on what we're seeing here. And same thing with Bitcoin, very unlikely. Now, when we look at that MACD, the MACD at the bottom, I've been pointing out over the past few weeks that we are seeing a divergence. You're seeing how this is going higher and higher. And despite the lower prices, the same thing is the case in pretty much every crypto, as well as equities. You see the same thing in the Dow, the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, etc. And another clue that we look for is oftentimes when you have an ABC correction up, you'll have a divergence going up. So what that means is that I'm going to draw this out here. This is, again, Bitcoin chart. If this is an A wave, this is a B wave, and that's the C wave, you'll see a divergence going up into the C wave's top. And so far we have a divergence, but if we keep blasting off, we keep going, inching towards that 55,000 mark, we should see this thing stretch much further out. that would be a good sign because you don't want to see a divergence on the potential third wave. You want to see a divergence once that fourth wave happens, and then you have a fifth wave up. So that's usually a pretty good clue as to what we're saying. So expect this rally to continue. I don't expect any sharp pullbacks for the next several days. And when we look at Ethereum, it should be the same story. We're already blasting up, as you see here, and MACD is showing the exact same behavior in which we have a good divergence. And here you have we're stretched out here on March 19th. We're in the process of stretching it out a little bit more. So if we keep pushing it out, again, without a divergence in place, you don't expect a pullback. So expect a five-wave pattern to continue. So if that is the case, let's see here. Let's assume that that is a 1, 2. Let's say the third wave goes somewhere up here. Fourth consolidation, fifth wave. Your MACD should stretch maximally on this third wave peak, and then you see a divergence as we have a higher high on the fifth wave. That would be a very good sign. That would be a clean five-wave impulse. And I know I'm showing this in the mid-4,000s range. May or may not be exact, but the whole point is to show you guys the behavior of what we expect if we see an impulsive wave, and also why I don't think this is an ABC up, because again, we're still very stretched. We don't see a divergence yet. So that is the story in our OG cryptos here, the big two. I'm going to go to Bitcoin Cash just briefly. I'm going to run through these one by one, and the behavior is similar. Divergence, we're rallying powerfully. Arguably, we have 3 up, and we're presumably in some kind of fourth wave consolidation before we have a final fifth wave up. Ethereum Classic, again, incredibly impressive stuff here. When I zoom up on this thing, let's see here. If I put a fib extension built off of this 1-2, we are perfectly, we actually hit the 1.32 extension almost perfectly, so that's textbook. We may have a little squirt higher to about 59.36. That would be another standard target for the third wave, and then expect a sideways consolidation. And I would expect to be sideways because we had a pretty deep consolidation on the second wave. There is something called the law of alternation in Elliott wave theory, in which if you have your second wave go deep, your fourth wave will be shallow, and vice versa. If you have a shallow second wave, your fourth wave will go deep. So for that reason, I expect a pretty shallow consolidation, and then finally get to somewhere between $64 to $73 before we have some kind of consolidation. However, if this thing extends directly into that box, it can do whatever it wants. Not my problem, especially considering that many of these coins are going to be in some kind of a diagonal pattern in the big picture. So if this is actually an A wave up, this could be the smaller A wave for the bigger A wave. So if I draw it out, it can look something like this, in which this is the A wave, I have a B wave consolidation, and then the final C wave would be the sub C wave of the bigger A wave. So I know I'm going a little crazy with the weeds here, but again, this is where things may diverge from your standard impulsive structure in many of the altcoins, because we are presumably in an ending diagonal. Litecoin, not as impressive of a rally, but I can't complain. We got 3 up so far. Doge is actually one of my highest potential cryptos based on the structures we have and how robust it is. And the rally has not been particularly impressive yet, but Doge is one of those things that you can see it sometimes puts things off, it procrastinates, and then just shoots off like a rocket. So if you're trying to get into Doge, you should probably be in it, because when that rally hits, most likely it will come out of nowhere, take off without too much of a warning. Dash, again, this is usually my earliest indicator of altcoin sentiment, and it was one of the first coins that was indicating to me that we had a lot of upside ahead, and sure enough, Dash forecasted correctly. We look here, you have a 1-2, maybe a 1-2 nested setup, probably the third of a third. I have a little higher to go. I'm going to zoom up a little bit because this is interesting here. It gives us a bit more of a picture. If we look at that as the 1-2, we have already eclipsed the 0.764 extension. So we're seeing a lot of upside extensions in this particular coin. I don't know what I just did. I zoomed up a little too far. It's going crazy. All right, so when we look at this thing, we have more than enough extension for this to be a third wave. As a matter of fact, we've gone high enough for this to be 5 up, but I would prefer to see this thing get up to 148, 149 plus to give us a more appropriate looking fifth wave. It extends even higher than that, even better, before we have a consolidation. Dash, I believe, was not in a diagonal kind of pattern, so I would expect a full impulsive setup here, and thus I have this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. We need to see a strong, powerful first wave. So again, a bigger impulsive wave. We have most of what we're calling wave 1 in place already, so expect a wave 2 consolidation, and then an absolute rocket blast in this box, possibly a higher after that. That would be a very good sign if we have a consolidative pullback, relatively shallow, wave 2. That would be a very good sign. Looking at the history of Dash, it too seems to have relatively shallow pullbacks and wave 2s. So may not get much consolidation in this one. Let's shift over to Polkadot. Made a video about this one not that long ago. This has insane potential, and we're getting good signs here with the progress so far. It looks like we're in the middle of finishing a third wave, and I would fully expect this to be impulsive as well. So everything should be 5 up, 3 down. Chainlink, I'm going to do an update on this very soon, possibly later tonight. And look at this, nice impressive rally, clearly 3 up. Expect this to also have an impulsive structure to finish off this regular rally. Solana, impressive rally again. Solana's a bit more ambiguous, so I'll be doing some more analysis on that. Stellar Lumens, probably pretty close to what I was expecting to see in a first wave up. 3 up so far. EOS looks really impressive. That is very powerful, almost too high to be a third wave, but hey, higher is better. If we can consolidate and have a higher high, that'd be even better. You have 5 up, or maybe we already have our 5 up. If we take a closer look at EOS, which I'm going to do right now, EOS, here we go. Look at this. It just took off. Is this a 4th wave with a 5th wave to come, or is this the 4th wave with that being the end of the 5th wave? Not totally sure, but nothing bearish at the moment. I'm going to go to Polygon or Matic. Zoom out of here. Yeah, zoom out a little bit. This one, like Solana, has a bit of an ambiguous pattern. I think we're going to have a diagonal, but I'll be revisiting this in coming weeks, coming days. And SHIB, this one has taken quite a while to get going, but like Doge, its fellow K9 meme coin, this one, when it takes off fast. So I see no reason to not think we still have a setup in place. Probably going to shift these things over to the right a little bit in time. When this hits, it's going to hit hard when this rally takes off. So don't be caught off guard with your pants down. I don't know how that metaphor fits into this, but you get the idea. I have a lot of updates coming up in the pipeline. Going to have some Elliott Wave education, so subscribe. That way you don't miss those. And if you enjoyed my video, don't forget to give me a like. Till next time, thank you for watching and happy trading.